Hi, my name is Artem, and this is my brother Alex. When you're here back on Stacking Wisdom podcast, today we're joined with Charlene. Charlene does consulting, specifically more so with B2B, but she's here today to give us an opportunity to peek into the world of having a winning mindset, and that's one of the things that she's going to be primarily talking about today. I'll let you take the reins here, and I'll let you get started with your wisdom, because I think that's what we're gonna really learn today.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I am delighted to be here. I wanna go back to when I was 25, because I know you guys are 25. I want to go back to when I was 25, and it was a time I was apparently on the fast track. I had a team of 20. I'd just been promoted to manager, and I was very excited. And I did not have a manager at the time that I could say, yeah, that's the one I want to be like. The only example I had was my father, who is not the best people person. But I used that, and I said, okay, that's, I guess, what you do. So fast forward 3 months of being a manager. I had no managers in my office to pay attention to, but I had these 20 people, and I was whipping them in, following all the orders and getting everything done. And one night, 3 of my favorite teams, they came to me and they said, hey, Char, we want to talk to you after work. Now remember, there's always safety in numbers. 3 people, they talked to me after work, and they said to me, Char, we really like you. You're a really nice person, but you're a really shitty manager. And I sat there and I went, oh, I know, I can't say a word. I have to keep my face, really. And my heart went racing, and they proceeded to tell me how bad I was. They told me that I did not respect them. They told me that I barked out orders. They told me that I had no concern about their ideas. They spent about 20 minutes really tearing into my backside about what a horrible, horrible person I was. But they liked me. And they said, we just want you to know, if you don't change, we're going to leave. And they got up and they left. And I sat there, and I was shocked. And I knew in my heart of hearts they were right. And I wanted to cry. I'd never been spoken to by anyone that way. And I realized I had 2 options. I could ignore them, or I could pay attention to them. And I chose to pay attention to them because I knew they were right. What they didn't know was they were making $15,000 more than me.
That's incredible.
Because in those days, wages were completely...
It's a completely restructured system. Yeah. It was based probably on your loyalty to the company, right?
It was all screwed up. And I couldn't tell them that. But I decided I was going to be the best manager and leader around. I set to work. I didn't tell them. I set to work. Fast forward 25 years. I'm 50 years old. I am the general manager of a plant in Brampton. The plant is United Nations. English is not the first language for anybody. I've been the general manager for 9 years. I've taken that company through 3 ownership changes. Every time the owners have made gazillions and gazillions of dollars. I am the toughest taskmaster that has ever walked. The team is a bunch of ordinary people who have done extraordinary results. It's the team that has accomplished amazing things. I have been asked to go to the U.S. to teach all these subsidiaries in the U.S. how to have the same results that this Canadian team has had. It's the last day of my position, and I have gone around and I have shook the hands of 125 employees. No one that day told me I was a bad manager. No one told me I was a good one either. But all 125 people shook my hand and cried on my shoulder. And they all said, Char, it's not going to be the same ever again. And it's many years later, and I'm still in contact with many of those people. And I want to tell you something. Being a good manager, being a very good leader, is the hardest job that anyone can do, because no one ever tells you you're good. The HR department will never tell you you're good. Your boss will never tell you you're good. Mm-hmm. Your performance reviews, if you're lucky enough to have them, will never give you a B, a C, an A. You will never get a bonus that says you're a really good manager. Instead, what you get is a lot of shit. Instead, what you get is a lot of nights that you're home late. A lot of times you go home crying. A lot of nights you won't sleep. A lot of nights you worry about the other people. You make a lot of friends, and you're told many times you're not supposed to make friends, but you do make friends. And yet, when things go right, it is the most exhilarating time, because you don't worry about yourself, you worry about the other people. There's a lot of armchair critics in the world, and I've noticed as I've gotten older that the armchair criticking is even worse than it was when I was younger. Everyone fancies themselves an armchair critic, and you can point to so many people and say, well, they did that wrong, and they did that wrong, and they did that wrong. Well, until you sat in the chair and done the work yourself, you really don't know what you're talking about. I can tell you there aren't very many really good managers and really good leaders in the world. And all of us are human beings. And if anyone ever says to you, don't worry, it's not personal, that's the biggest load of crap you can ever get. Because business really is personal. And that was the big lesson I learned when I was 25. I had these 3 favorite people tell me that I was a nice person, but I was a lousy manager and a lousy leader. And that hurt me. And I was bound and determined to get good. And I did get good. But here's the thing, you don't find out you're good until about 10 years later. After you've arrived, it's 10 years later. And then somebody realizes, hey, you know, it was better when this person was here. And that's what happens. And I worry about now the opportunities that were available years ago are not there today. And there's even less opportunity for people to learn how to be a good manager, to learn how to be a good leader. And it's so much easier to say, you don't know what you're talking about. It's so much easier to say, I'm the boss, I know what I'm talking about, shut up. It's so much easier to say, no, you're too young, you don't have any ideas. It's so much easier to say, well, you're paying attention to your text, you're not really doing your job, I don't really care about you. You can pay your dues, and when it's time, you'll learn. That's the easy thing. The hard thing is to say, what do you want? What do you want out of this job? Here's what I need. I can't give you everything, but I can give you some stuff. Let's work together. That's the hard part. The hard part is when someone's having a meltdown, to say, okay, what did you learn? The hard part is to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And I understand you're pissed off about it. But I can't do that right now. But here's what I can do. The hard part is to say, I'm sorry, we have to close this down. Mm-hmm. The hard part is taking a company through bankruptcy. Knowing employees for 6 months only and saying, I'm sorry, this company is now closed and I can't give you any more than 2 weeks. That's a hard thing to do. With people that have been working for 20 years, that's a hard thing to do. And yet having them say, I understand, Charlene, you taught us and treated us with some respect. Thank you for that. Mm. That's when you know you did it okay. I worry there are so many people that are trying to set up their own businesses. They're trying to get ahead. And they forget that business really is personal, and their actions affect human beings. Their actions affect people. And we're not, even in companies, in careers, in their own businesses, there's little opportunity to help people. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole true secret of success. It took me 25 years to master how to be an excellent people person, to the point that I can walk into any organization and very quickly see, oh, you're a really good leader. I can feel it, I can see it, I can smell it. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can do that, but it takes one to know one. Mm-hmm. It's not easy. It's hard. Not everyone wants to do it. I wish it was one of those easy things that you could just pick up and text and learn. It doesn't work that way. It's all practice. I made mistakes. I made so many mistakes. But here's the thing. If you honestly admit it, I'm so sorry. Would you forgive me? I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean it that way. Just admit you're human. That means so much to people. You can pretty well say anything to everyone as long as they know your intentions are honorable. Mm-hmm. It's when your intentions are not honorable that really gets in the way. And what I find is that if your intentions are money-based and they're all about you instead of the other person, people see through that right away, and there's no trust. And trust is the foundation. But if your intentions are the best for the other person, we can all make mistakes and just ask for forgiveness. That's the secret to your success.
I think to some extent it's finding the right approach with every single person, right? And having maybe some sort of an adaptability skill where you're able to get on their level and be able to make yourself relatable to them as well, right? Would you say?
There is a certain amount of that. I have a good friend of mine who's an ace sales prospector. In sales, there's two parts to sales. One is the hunting, which is the cold calling, the finding the business, and then the other one is the account managing, which is the keeping the account that you have happy. The hunting is the hardest part. So my friend says exactly what you just said. In order to be likable, in order to develop that rapport, she's got a term, and I'll just use it in my bad English. It's mirroring you. So if you're sitting with your legs crossed, I'll cross mine. You have your arms a particular way, I'll cross my arms that way. So what I'm doing is I'm putting you at ease.
Certainly.
It's not
it can be done through language though, and it can be done through body language, I find, and like a lot of other
body
things.
Language is the number one thing. Then the other way is talking exactly the same as you. Last summer I took a course on NLP, neuro linguistic
Programming, that's right. Yeah.
There's a way to do it with that too. Some people call that a nasty way of dealing with people. You're manipulating them. I don't look at it as manipulating. I look at it as I'm trying to understand you. I'm trying to build a rapport with you. I will use whatever technique or tool I can so that I can as quickly as possible get inside your head or get under your skin or whatever. Women, if I can be very general, women are better at it or more comfortable with it than men are. Although I find there are certain types of men that are much better at it than other types of men. So much for being very general. But it's true. And it works. So if it works, why not use it?
I agree. I mean, I think that's you're given certain maybe abilities that you are able to develop throughout your lifetime that you can probably utilize for your own benefit to some extent, but at the same time it can be used for benefit of you being able to create, you know, a relationship with somebody or being able to build that relationship. And I think if that's going to help you to do that, I don't see why it's necessarily questionable. I mean, it's just like you said, if it's strictly for your own benefit, then people read through that, right? They'll catch on to that. I mean, if it might not be right away, but they will eventually, right? So
they absolutely
so
do.
I think that it's one of those things. It's almost like it's one of those things that my grandfather taught me. He always said that don't always be on a high horse. He said that people look down upon that. He said when you are able to relate to anyone and you're able to share with them, let's say you have your last piece of bread and you break that bread and you give them half of that. People find that so what's the word I want to use? They find that so in such a way that where it essentially breaks down the barriers, right? Directly between the two of you, and you're able to communicate and you're able to show that person that you truly care, that you're able to, you know, be as equals, right? So that in itself, I think, is one of those probably lessons that kind of stuck with me for a long time from what he taught me, and it's been invaluable to me because I'm one of those people that likes to, you know, have some friends over, host parties, and I like to cook for them because I feel like I can put my feelings and emotions into that, and I'm able to serve that to them because that in itself is like me showing love to them as well, right? So,
absolutely.
So I think that's one of those things that's, and I agree with what you're saying, absolutely, because I think that you have to make yourself relatable in order to be a good businessman, to be a good salesman, to be a good showman, to be a good, you know, successful person.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. Lots of people will say to me, "So, Char, you know, what do you know, or what is your background, or you know, what makes you think you know so much?" And especially in today's world, I will say everybody and their brother likes to say, "Well, I'm an advisor, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor,
Guru.
I'm a guru, I'm an expert, I'm a this, I'm a that," right?
Yeah.
And it's hard. And so I lived in Mississauga for 35 years, and which is right next door to Toronto, and I spent far too many years traveling around the world and doing whatever. So I hate talking about what I did, but if I want to impress someone, I'll say, well, yeah, I have bought 60 companies, I've sold 10, I've improved 30, I've changed the culture of 5, and I took one company through bankruptcy. I've got private company, public company, franchise company, and nonprofit experience. I've run $30 million companies. I've done startups. I started my own company twice, and the biggest I've run is $750 million. The smallest is 5. So yeah, I've done it all. I've also done with, and I can list it, right? And they'll go, oh. And then they'll say, well, what about this? Yeah, okay. And then I can start listing off, oh shit, you really do know? Yeah. And then I'll say, well, you know, and So the thing, however, the thing that really gets everybody is when I say, so when I was 5, I wanted to make things better, and so I started looking for money. And for my entire life, I've always looked to find ways to make money. I've been looking, so I can look at this and this and this, and have you thought about this? And oh, this is what you've been doing all your life. Yes. And I can't, and I say, and I've given up counting the number of millionaires I've made. I don't count them anymore. Oh. So I just say, if you want to find somebody who knows what they're doing and you're a little bit confused, just ask them about their results. So if you have a coach and they say, well, we can do this, really just tell me about some of the results. That's the easiest way to winnow away what's going on. And can people talk about their results? If they can't speak in results, why are you dealing with them? Because you want results. You want bottom line results, right? Yeah. And then it's a case of, do you think they're telling you the truth? Do you like their approach? And then, okay, do you think they can work with you? Okay, there we go. That's it. Because people don't care about money. People, the first reaction everybody's going to say is, I can't afford you. But that's just a knee-jerk reaction, right? Nobody really cares about money. People say they do, but that's a knee-jerk reaction we all have is, oh my God, no, I can't, I got to think about that. That's not a no. That's, I got to think about it. So then you go back and say, so, what would you like to think about? How can I help you? And then they go, well, and that's an opportunity to discuss your value. And what I have found is a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the beginning, don't have their value nailed down. So that's where I can help. Don't have your value nailed down? Well, here's where you stand out. Here's where you're different. Here's where, and money is the easiest thing to talk about. Why? Because sales is helping. We're not used car salesmen. We're helping people. And all we have to do is show them, hey, hello, we're helping you. It's easy. People buy on emotion and justify with logic. So if we love what you got and it fits with what we need, we're going to say sure. And we're going to justify it by saying, okay, yeah, okay, I can understand the value and the results that you bring. So am I going to say, yes, you're a good coach because, yeah, okay, you made a dog look good versus you made a millionaire. How are we going to justify it? It's not by texting. It's not by Facebook likes. It's not by Instagram likes. It's eyeball to eyeball. Do I like this? And I had a partner. He's a writer. And a pretty good writer. And we got into a discussion about money. And I said, you can't be billing people for all your writing ability at that rate. No one's going to buy it. Oh, that's what I do. I said, no. What does your writing bring? What kind of results can you guarantee? I said, I guarantee my results. If I say you do this, there's a piece that I can guarantee. I'm telling you, if you do this with your sales or this with your expenses or this with, I guarantee it. What do you guarantee with your? Well, I don't do that. Then you can't justify your. The times have changed, honey bunch. It's just. Anyways, we're not partners anymore. So
must be a reason, eh?
Must be a reason, eh? So I mean, do you see where I'm going?
Absolutely.
Always go on results. Sell your business. Sell your services on results. No one can argue with the results. Everyone wants to know what the results are.
And I agree with you that there's always going to be deflection. There's always going to be reasons for why somebody's going to try to put it off. And I think that the only reason that they're still doing that is because they're still not sold on you. They're still not sold on what you're trying to deliver to them, right? So, and it means you need to keep selling. But a lot of the times, I agree with you 100%. And a lot of the times, they'll put out things out there just to see how you react, right?
Exactly. They're
So,
testing
yeah,
you. That's
exactly.
all it is. It's just a
Yeah.
test.
It's almost like being in a relationship too, right? Like,
Exactly.
a woman sometimes will test a guy to see how he'll react in a certain way, just to see what his
Exactly.
reaction is.
Yeah.
Just to
Exactly.
determine, the way that the relationship's gonna, whether it's gonna continue or not, right? So, I hate to be the bearer of the bad news, but that's just the reality of it. So,
Yeah.
Well,
mind you, men do that too to women. I mean, it's a two-way street,
It's a
right?
two-way
So,
street.
yeah, it definitely is. So,
Yeah.
I think it's just it's learning to adapt and apply your communication. I think that's I agree with you. I mean, I think that the way the communication occurs nowadays, it's a little bit different because everything's sort of shifted to this. But what this has become is too much of a distraction with too many things.
this is just a tool.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But it could be a great tool. It could be used for a lot of good stuff. But I agree with you that in order for you to close that sale, you need to look eye to eye, and you need to be able, to be there to shake their hand, and you need to be able to, give them that impression face to face. Because I think that's what a lot of people are sort of forgetting nowadays, because they think that, well, I'll just use this tool right here because it makes me comfy, because I can sit in my house and not go anywhere and not have to, push myself a little bit just so I can go into somebody's office and, approach them and talk to them and speak to them directly, right? Because it's easier to be in that little comfort zone of mine, right? And I don't know. Would you agree?
I totally agree. In fact, can I just go off on a little bit of a
Yeah,
tangent
absolutely,
Yeah.
of
for
course.
a second? I'm actually developing 3 courses right now, all about exactly what you're talking about. It's all about communication. One is on networking, one is on marketing messages, and one is on sales. And it's all about the eyeball to eyeball, the handshake to handshake, the talking instead of the texting. The reason I'm doing it is because I'm the tail end of the baby boomers, and honestly, there's a piece of me that looks at it and says, you know what, the baby boomers, they haven't really helped the world. They've kind of screwed the world up a bit. And there's a piece of me that says, I want to help the generations that followed me and give them some of my mind stuff. So I've been developing these 3 courses to try and help the generations that are following me to say, hey, this is what I know about this communication thing. I learned these things. Once upon a time, I was known to be able to do things basic and every day, and I can teach you. So I'm actually looking for some test bunnies. And if any of your listeners would love to get in on dirt cheap, ground floor, just help me put the final touches on some stuff. Hey guys, if you want, I would love.
We'll post the link in our video.
Test bunnies.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
Because here, let me just. This is how basic I think. Networking. Everyone is afraid of networking, right? Because, oh my God, I'm scared of networking. I don't like networking. I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people. What do I say? So I say, networking is like sex. Networking is like the first person you took to bed. Nobody went to the first person they ever took to bed and said, hey, back seat, let's go. Or, hey, I'm in the mood. You want to do it? Nobody did that, right?
Yeah.
Guaranteed, nobody did. Guaranteed, the first person, you didn't take them to bed right away. Guaranteed, there was a little bit of a dance, a little bit of a process. Networking is no different. I know for a fact, because I've looked, nobody treats networking like your first person you took to bed. Nobody talks about it like that. But it's no different. There's a process. So in my course, what I actually do is I tell you how I seduced my husband. That is not exciting stuff. But there was a dance.
Yeah.
I was gonna actually say to it sounds like a dance, right? It's almost reminds me of like tango or something, right? You gotta romance the other side a little bit.
Exactly.
You gotta sweep them off their feet a little bit, right? So you gotta push the envelope a little bit, right? And then when you warm them up in that dance, you're going for that kiss, right?
Yeah.
But it's no different.
Yeah.
So when you want to grab your next customer, and as an aside, I'm on LinkedIn as an advisor for people for career advice. It's the same thing. If you want to get a new job, I say all the time, okay, there's a process, so get working on it now because it's going to take time. People think, I can get a sale, I can get an account in 5 minutes. It doesn't work that way. It takes time, and there's the dance you go through. Well, networking is a dance. Your messaging is a dance. Sales is a dance. So listen, any test bunnies, I'll give you the link.
Absolutely, we'll have it posted within the video. We'll have it posted within all the podcasts. So
For sure,
you're absolutely right. Communication, eyeball to eyeball, handshake to handshake is A1.
I think it's one of those things that just breaks down the barriers because people can tell right away because you always have the little bit of like that bullshit, sensor that's in your head, and you're like, well, I've talked to this person over the phone, or I've had a video chat with them, but what are they really like in person, right? Because a lot of the times when you actually meet face to face, you can I don't know, it's almost like you can almost like feel and absorb their energy, right? It's like it's like something just gives off that you know what it is? I know exactly what it is. It's your subconscious mind telling you, and it's your intuition. And I think that it's one of those things that a lot of people sort of always try to push to the back of their mind and never really utilize. And I think that intuition really can be such a beneficial thing in a lot of the things that you can do with your life. It can really be an indicator for whether you should actually be going forward with this deal, right? Because a lot of the times you'll just know.
You just know.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you can walk into the room, you can look at the person's eyes before you could even shake their hands. You'll just know right away. And I think that a lot of times it's people mistake it for hesitance and maybe being over worried about stuff or just being too cautious.
Yep.
And like I understand. I mean, like if you're a professional accountant, for example, right? And what you do is you always evaluate the numbers. Then you can sort of have the hesitance, right? But at the same time, at the back of your mind, you always know. You always know. And it's just I think that the problem is that we have too many choices today in everything, and that's what sort of throws us off.
Yes.
It's one of those things that I've actually, I can't remember where I got this little piece of advice that I grabbed, was that you say to yourself, within 3 seconds, if I've had to make a decision, it's almost like you're fighting for your life. If you had to pick out of the 3 choices, what's the one you'd go with? And you say to yourself, I have 3 seconds to decide, and that's the one you pick.
Yep.
And if you pick the wrong one, you'll know which one the right one is.
You are absolutely correct. You are so correct. I think one of the toughest things these days is there is so much choice. There's a networking group that I go to on Thursday mornings, and I constantly say to everybody, there are 50 to 60, because I live in a smaller town now, there are 50 to 60 other yous. How are you so much different than everyone else? What makes you so special? Why should I deal with you as opposed to you? Because that's the thing now that we all have to do. We all have to stand out and apart. There is so much choice. You have to find the gimmick or the hook or the something, because why do we want to pick you? Why? And with all the entrepreneurs that are coming up, or all the folks that want to get into business, and everyone wants to be a web designer, everyone wants to be a real estate agent, everyone wants to be a this, a that, a that. Why are you so different? What makes you stand out? And my first business was before social media. And I don't recommend anybody do this. I got into a business that I had no contacts. I knew nothing. I just had an idea. Well, that's the silliest thing to do, but I was bound and determined, and I brought a real product line, 18 SKUs to market in less than 9 months. Even the big guys couldn't possibly do that. And I knew nobody, I had no contacts, blah, 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 before social media. It was totally unheard of. Next thing, I got it to break even in less than 2 years. Another unheard of feat. Anyone who goes into business should not expect to make break even in the first year. It doesn't happen. And if you're into manufacturing, sure doesn't happen, right?
Well, yeah, no kidding, of course.
Anybody
Especially with manufacturing. Yeah.
Anybody wants to make money in your first 3 years of business, forget it. You're eating beans and peanut butter.
Yeah.
These ideas of people make lots of money, it does not happen. But anyways, so I was 38, and it was a great time. It was a heady time, but life got in the way. I'm telling the story because life gets in the way. I had one family member who decided that she didn't want to live anymore, and so she tried to take her own life. So my job was to bring her back to health. Then my younger brother, he got drunk, and he decided to take on a transport driver. The transport truck won. So that was kind of a major family crisis. I lost my mojo. Life gets in the way. I went back to work because I couldn't handle doing a business. I tell you this story, not that you feel sorry for me. I was lucky. Other people had worse problems, way worse problems. I felt grateful that I could get back on my horse, recover myself, move along in my journey. 4 years ago, I think it was 4 years ago, life got in the way again. I ended up in the hospital. I didn't know. I was completely oblivious to it. My husband, I woke up with this one day, and my husband said to me, "Oh, honey, you're awake now. Isn't that marvelous? You've been in a coma for a week. So happy you're awake now. You've had a stroke, and don't worry, I'm going to go get the doctor." So, oh really? Like, I knew nothing. Apparently what I had was a viral infection, and the viral infection, streptococcal meningitis, it's not rare, but it's uncommon. It sucks out all the oxygen out of your spinal column and your brain. So it leads to seizures, and I ended up having 2 strokes, whatever. I'll just give you one metric. I used to be able to read at a rate of 300 words a minute. The average person reads at a rate of 175. So I was a very fast reader.
Very fast, I'd say almost double. Yeah.
My brain, when I woke up from the coma, could process 30 words an hour. So there was kind of a little...
My goodness.
And I remember they asked me to draw a clock. So I drew a happy face with a frown. That was my idea of a clock. So my brain was a little bit screwed up. Inside of a year, lots of rehab, 275 words a minute is what I could get back up to. On a good day, I can get up to 300, but I can't sustain it. Whatever. The doctors called me a miracle because it just didn't happen. What I did, and I didn't know it at the time, was I thought, and I just did what I had done my entire life. And it wasn't until later that I realized that my brain was hardwired a little bit differently than most people, and the way my brain is hardwired is what everyone wants to have. They want to have their brain hardwired. So I did a little bit of research, and I found out that I have what is known as a winning mindset. And what that means is shit happens, you just don't let it get you down. You can have a pity party, you can swear like a trooper, and I'm very good at swearing. I'm very good at swearing. I swear like a sailor half the time. You can bitch. You can hit the wall. You can scream. You can get mad as much as you want, but you let it go. And so I wrote down what the stages were, and I tried to make some order out of it. And then I started teaching it, because I got a little weird that all the doctors were calling me this medical miracle, and I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And then I realized, wait a minute, if this is how winners think, then entrepreneurs might find this helpful. What's between here is the most important piece of your entire body. And any doctor who says that, they really haven't figured out the brain yet is telling you the truth. There's only about 10% of the brain that they really and truly understand. So when my husband said to me, oh, honey, you've had a stroke. So I'm very vain. Most women are vain. I'm very vain. The first thing I did was I put my hand up here to feel if there was some kind of, And when I felt that there was nothing, the only word that was screaming in my head was no. I will not be disabled. I was always the main breadwinner in the family. I will not be disabled, and I will not have my husband look after me for my entire life, for the rest of my life. That was the only message that went in my head. That was the only thing I could think about. And that was the first decision I made. I wasn't happy with my husband telling me I had a stroke, but that was the only message. I'm not a doctor. I know nothing. So when a person says to me, Charlene, I want to be an entrepreneur, I say, why? Tell me your why, and what is the vision in your head? So for me, my vision was a big N-O. I'm healthy. I am so healthy, it's not even funny. I couldn't walk, I couldn't stand up, but I am so healthy. And so I say, okay, you've got to make a decision as the entrepreneur. Are you going? Go? No, go. And you have to have a vision of success in your head. If you don't have that vision of success in your head, you're going to fail. You're going to fall flat on your ass. Sorry, it's just going to go. That's the level one. And that takes a long time. For a lot of people, that takes a long time to come to. The second level, there's 6 levels. The second level is what I call the energy level. For me, oh my God, I am so lucky. And that's what I call the gratitude level. And so when I said to you from the first one of, I lost my business because I lost my mojo, and so I had to abandon my business, it's not that I felt sorry for myself. So many other people were worse off than me. I was mad. I was not happy. But I laid in my hospital bed and I listened to the other folks in the hospital ward. Lots of people couldn't get up and go to the bathroom by themselves. I could. Lots of people couldn't talk properly. I could. Lots of people needed help in many different ways. I didn't. And I realized I was lucky. The fact that I couldn't think properly, the fact that I couldn't read properly, none of that was important. I was lucky. Plus, I had the most amazing friends. And this is really key, and I want to really, 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 really emphasize this. Any entrepreneur needs friends. We all need friends because we can't make it alone. Nobody can make it alone. So if you want to believe that you don't need people in your life, I'm telling you, you're full of shit. You need people in your life. You need your family as much as you hate them. You need your best friends, whoever they might be. You need your neighbors. You need your colleagues that are in the same field as you. You need people around you. You cannot be a little tiny island. We need people. Even the people you don't like, you need them. I was lucky. I didn't realize how many friends I had, and I realized, oh my God, I'm really lucky. What you do is you start counting how lucky you are, and you realize what's important. And if you think about it, how many people do you know Bitch about nothing.
I hate to say it. That's and I don't know if this is maybe just if to some extent it's a little bit of a cultural thing too. But I picked up a book a long time ago. It was actually given to me by my mom, and it was called The Canadian Humour. And one of the first things that it talked about in the first chapter was that Canadians like to complain about everything.
Exactly.
And the number one thing that they always like to complain about is the weather.
Well, of course.
So it's always like, you know, it's one of those conversation starters that you always use.
Yes.
It's like, oh, what do you think about the weather today? You know, it's terrible. It's like it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too rainy, it's too snowy, right? It's just one of those things. And so I don't know if it's maybe subconsciously one of those things that kind of just becomes like a standard for people to kind of utilize, to kind of to always have like another little crutch that they can fall back onto and just say, oh well, you know, like you share my misery, don't you, kind of thing, right? It's just, and I always, like, whenever people approach me, I'm like, yeah, but it could, you know, we're in Canada, it's snowing. What the hell did you expect? Like, you know, or it's like, I had a lady come up to me this morning, and she's a fairly good neighbor of mine. I talked to her because we both have dogs, so we'll converse every once in a while. And she starts going to me. She's like, I've been in Canada for over 50 years. She's like, this is the first time in April that it's been really this cold. I'm like, yeah, but come on, like it's not really bad. It's still plus outside. It's still +4.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me, turned around, and she just started walking. And I'm like, okay, we'll see you then tomorrow. So I agree with you. I mean, I think it's easier to kind of always find something to whine and complain about. I think it's so much more of a positive to try to convince yourself that it's not that bad. It could be a lot worse.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that I think, you going back and talking about like immigrants, I think that's one of the things that a lot of immigrants have, that when they come to this country, or really any country, is that they have that immigrant mindset. They think to themselves, you know what, I've had it really shitty in that country. I'm here. Yeah. I have it kind of shitty right now, but it doesn't matter because I have a ton of opportunities.
Exactly.
I mean, that's one of the things that I can't stress enough online in Canada and in the States, you have all the resources in the world. You have everything you can possibly imagine to start your own business. Yeah. But you know, if you go to somewhere like Kenya or somewhere in like some small tiny country in Asia, where everything's just so like suppressed, and in order for you to actually make it as a business, you have to have those friends that you're talking about, right? Yeah. You have to have the connections. You have to, you know, be able to persuade people, and you know, in order to even give you a license to even have a business, right? So. I think that's the reality is that people are just given so many different. I think the thing is, it's just the information overload again. I think that there's just too much stuff out there, and people are just too easily distracted with crap. And it's not that they don't want to pursue stuff. It's just it's easier to turn off and just stare at your phone for the next hour because it's entertaining. And then you go back to your crappy job and you say, oh, well, you know, I don't really love it, but I don't really, hate it too much because it's okay. It gives me stability. It gives me, it gives me an opportunity to just go back to, my safe, cushy place that I have every single month, or. Exactly. And I think that's essentially is the key to breaking out. It's kind of being able to have that, like what you're saying is, having that attitude where you say to yourself, it could be a lot worse. And that's what I always tell to my wife too. I'm like, you have an issue with maybe something you didn't like at work, one of your coworkers. And I go, I'm like, you could be stuck in Africa somewhere where you're starving and you don't have any food. Like, what are you complaining about? You have nothing to complain about. Mm-hmm. Those things are so minute and so minor. One of the other things that I always tell people is like, are you going to remember about this 10 years from now? Is this going to be something that you actually going to be dwelling on 10 years from now? Is it really worth your time wasting all this precious time that you're discussing this complaint that you have that's so terrible? Mm-hmm. It's not worth it. It's just it's like if it's a major event, it's like you said. I mean, it's never a straight plan. It's your life is always going to get in the way. Family is going to drag you in different directions, but you have to be your own person to some extent with the support of your network that you have, friends, family, and everybody else. It's just the ability for you to kind of change that in your mind and say, it's pouring outside, and my car just got hit and totaled, and I'm out of a job, but I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm still here. Yeah, so I mean, you know, I'm gonna have a really shitty month probably, but who cares? A month from now, I can bounce back out, and I can go find another job. I'll find somewhere, you know, a better job somewhere else. If not a job, then maybe I'll start my own business. You know what I mean? Like it's so.
Yeah.
It's just. I agree with you. I think that a lot of the times it's almost like successful people. A lot of the times they don't want you to like realize this and to think this way because it's beneficial to them because they think, oh, you're gonna go complain. Okay, go complain. I'll make use of my time and I'll have that winning attitude. And it's gonna be more beneficial to me because I have less competition now.
That's right.
So
yeah, another thing like I never understand is when people say they have regrets. Like I'll never get that because, like to me, when someone says like they have regrets about things, it's just they're dwelling. Because, this is just my opinion, but like, I think that really, you know, if you consciously give your effort into something, like and put in your 100% effort, then there's no reason to have regrets.
That is correct.
Because there's never gonna be, you know, times where, you know, every single thing that you do is right? So, and you're bound to make mistakes regardless, because, you know, mistakes aren't all, you know, about you know, doing something wrong. I mean, sure there are, but like, sometimes, like as you said, like, and as you said, like life gets in the way, and there's just things you can't really control. So, right, like there's just no point in dwelling. There's no point in having
I think it's you're right to say that it's a mind state because a lot of the times it's almost like when we're upset, it kind of gets you into that mind state where you're like, I should be really upset. I should be really crying right now. I should be really pissed off about this. And I think you're right. I think that we're maybe suppressing some of the emotions, and we should just let them out.
Yeah.
You know, whether you want to go punch the wall or whether you want to go curl up on the corner for 5 minutes, but then you just say to yourself, okay, enough of this bullshit. Like it's time to move on. Yeah, I had a little shitty experience. I've dwelled on it for 5 minutes. That's okay. Things are better.
You can dwell on it for a couple of days.
Yeah.
My favorite, I have 2 pans. I have 2 small little pans.
Yeah.
They are so
freaking loud.
I just bang them and they're really mangled. They're really mangled now. But I don't hit the wall. I just bang the pots because I just get so mad.
Yeah.
The whole idea though is to let it go.
Yeah.
Don't keep it up. Just let it go, and it's okay. No, I wasn't raised that way. Oh, sorry. I wasn't raised that way. But it's okay to get mad, and it's okay to let it go. There's nothing wrong with it. You're absolutely right.
I think that it's also becoming a little bit cultural too and like social because people they really want to like sit down and discuss your feelings and how it affects you. I think that the only really person that can deal with those feelings is you.
Exactly.
And I think that a lot of the times, I mean, sometimes you're so frustrated beyond belief that you might need to talk to somebody else and just let it out of instead of just holding it onto something. Sometimes you need to share with somebody just because. For some people, it's easier to share that way and to get it out in the open. But once you've done, that's it. You go on, you move on to something else, right? So done. And I think that's sort of has been sort of pushed onto us by the society, in the last maybe 20 years. Oh, let's sit down. Let's talk about your feelings. How is this going to affect you for the next 20 years?
Yeah.
Who gives a hell? Like, how are you going to feel about this 10 years from now?
Yeah.
It's become an industry. Yeah. It's become an industry for people to kind of, suck money out of you just because they can. And like all they do is just talk about their feelings. And I mean, it's okay. It's okay to have feelings. It's good to be upset. It's good to be happy. It's good to be sad. It's just, we're humans. It's like what you said. It's, going back to being human. We are human, and admitting those mistakes, I think, is part of being human, and being able to say sorry and being able to, admit that you're not always right. And but at the same time, you're absolutely right. It's just, it's one of those things. It's it's kind of old school. And again, going back to my grandfather, he taught me this. He said that if you're gonna stay depressed and if you're gonna dwell on something for a really long time, then just means you're bored. Get up and go do something.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's always stuck with me. I mean, it's kind of, it seems somewhat maybe insensitive in a way, because some people might take it the wrong way, but in reality, because I do agree that to some extent, there might be some issues that you might have with your brain, and some people's brains are wired differently, and I agree that's
Like clinical stuff?
to some extent maybe, and I think that's in some ways maybe some people have issues with mental stuff, and I mean it's not for me to judge. I'm not a medical professional, right, by any means, but at the same time I think that if you tell yourself, I have a cold today, and so I'd rather just curl up under some blankets and not go to work, or instead you could just be like, you know what, I really don't care. I have a cold. I'm just gonna deal with it. I'm just gonna get up and go do the stuff that I can. I might not be 100%, but screw it. At least I'll get something done, right? So.
And that goes back to the attitude of people have it worse than me, right?
People have it worse than me, and my thing is, I don't care how bad you feel today.
Yeah.
Just do one thing.
For sure.
Don't hide. Just do one thing. It'd be better if you did 3, but if you can't manage, just do one thing. Don't waste a day. That would be my... Okay, so...
I like that. Don't waste a day.
Don't waste the day. Okay, so stage 1, make the decision, go or no go, or get a picture in your brain. Stage 2 is have gratitude or grab your energy from somewhere. Stage 3 is what I call the clarity. So for me, I'm lying in the hospital and I'm thinking, okay, what do I have? So it was like, okay, so I have legs that kind of work. I got this that kind of works. I got this that doesn't work. What do I have? Okay. But for an entrepreneur, this is when you really, if you want to be successful, you have to be really brutally honest. And we're not known for being particularly honest, but you got to be honest with yourself. What skills do you have and what do you not have? And it's the not haves that are going to bite your ass. So, are you a good people person? Yes, no. Not everybody has the whole kit and caboodle. Most people don't have the kit and caboodle, and it would be really worth your while to admit honestly, I'm not good at sales, I'm not good at marketing, I'm not good at technology, I'm not good at writing, I'm not good at administration, I'm not good at finance, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this. And farm that out, or at least know on a piece of paper, I'm really shit lousy at this, but I'm really freaking amazing at this. And the reason I say that is, if you look at any company that is successful, pick Bill Gates, pick Steve Jobs. Okay, they're dead, whatever, but pick companies that have been around a long time, pick Loblaws, pick Shoppers. No one owner does everything. So why on earth do entrepreneurs think that they have to do everything? This just blows my mind.
I agree with you.
So
there's being frugal, and I think there's being smart with your resources, but at the same time, if you know you're not going to be able to pull that part of the job, well, why not just outsource it, right? Why not?
More entrepreneurs don't get off the ground because they think that they have to be the master of everything. And frankly, I have never met anybody who is a master of everything. So I have to say, I've never met an incompetent person. Never. In all my years. People say, you've heard people say, oh yeah, he's like, oh, you can't trust him, or he's really bad, or we've all heard people say really horrible, disgusting things about people, right? I can tell you, I have never, ever in my life met an incompetent person. I've met angry people, disillusioned people, people in the wrong jobs, people who are not trained properly. I have never in my life met an incompetent person. I have met people who have been totally overloaded. I have met people who somehow thought that they could do everything. I've met people who thought they could walk on water. I've never met anyone who could walk on water. And the thing that gets entrepreneurs in more hot water and stuck in the basement rather than up on the roof where they belong, they seem to think they can do everything, and oh my God, they can't. And oh my God, I'm not spending money on I'm going to do that myself. Okay, so I think I've said enough on the clarity. Now, then the next issue is the fourth one, which is asking the questions, what I can do. So here is what I have done all my life, and this is why I think I beat the odds. This is where you get very strategic, and sure, you can write your strategic plans and you can say, so I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and everything else. But this is what I believe. I don't care how shitty your day is. I don't care what's happened to you. I don't care how much life gets in the way. You will do one thing every single day, period. And on the days that you have a good day, you will do 10 times as much as you think you're going to do. End of story, full stop, there you go. You will do 10 times as much as the person beside you on those days that you are absolutely freaking amazing. You will do 5 times as much on those days that you're so-so, and you will do one thing on the times that you're full of shit. Got it? You will not waste one day.
I love it.
Some days, your body's going to let you down. I don't care. One thing. That one thing could be you go have a shower. That one thing could be you go walk the dog. That one thing could be you go cook dinner. That one thing could be you do the dishes. I don't care what that one thing is, but you do not waste the day. Watch TV, drink, stay in bed, text all day long. Throw this thing out there as far as I'm concerned. And on the days when you are absolutely perfectly fit, you go like hell and you blow the doors off of it. I cannot tell you how, this is speaking from somebody who could not walk. Have you ever noticed the next time you go into a hospital, look at the people who are absolutely fit and look at how many people who are fit do not take the stairs. And look at the people who can barely walk take the stairs. On those days where I thought I was just, and I'm not a good patient, I really am not. But I made myself, and if I couldn't do it, my husband smacked my head, and if my husband wasn't around, my friend smacked my head. I made myself climb those freaking stairs at Credit Valley Hospital twice a day. The only people that climbed the stairs were the people that were sick. Anybody who was healthy took the elevator. Today, if I go to a hospital, I take the stairs. There's a reason why humanoids need to take stairs. It's good for us.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So after that, the 5th thing is focus. This is when you go hardcore, because this is when things start to fall apart. Nothing goes right. It takes forever for all that networking to fall into place. It takes forever for those sales to come through. And this is where faith and confidence comes in. For me, after a month of hard work, I wasn't getting my memory back. For me, I was still drawing clocks in the form of a happy face with a frown. For me, I couldn't remember things, and I was really pissed. I couldn't throw a ball. And all the rehab people kept saying, oh, just keep doing it. And I'm going, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And they kept yelling at me in their way. You have to have faith. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it over and over again. Now, I went back to my, okay, I got to do it 10 times a day. And you, as entrepreneurs, on those awful days, and there's more awful days than there are good days. Like when I told you my story about being a manager, you go home at night and you're crying. Because that's how you release.
Yeah.
You go home and you're screaming or you're feeling really bad. That's how you release. There are more of those days, especially in the early years. You have to have faith. And you start chanting. And you start meditating. And you start doing all weird stuff. Because you know you are absolutely right. You know no one's going to stop you. You don't know how the hell it's going to happen. Because you keep holding on to, I'm not going to quit. Because it's just around the corner. And that just around the corner could be 5 years, it could be 8 years, it could be 10 years. And you're scared to death to know, if I quit now, that's holding that faith and confidence. That's the toughest part. For me, it took about 3 months until I started to see some movement. And I had to hold on to listening to the doctors who had worked with other patients and knew. And that's when I say to entrepreneurs, do you have a mentor? Do you have an advisor? Are you working with somebody who's already seen the results that you want to see, that they can say, no, hold on a little longer? Are you working with someone that can tell you that's a good sign, hold on, or that's not what you want to be doing, change course? Because I have seen too many times smart entrepreneurs give up way too soon. It's not working. You got to be in it for the long game. That's the big thing. And too many people just give up just as they start.
I think a huge factor of it is that they're not truly doing it because they love the game of entrepreneurship. They're not truly doing it because they crave, having, the learning experiences and the growing pains of what entrepreneurship really is, and they don't even truly love their businesses. Like a lot of times they're in it for the money. They're in it for Instagram, showing off to people they don't really care about and like, but they just want to have this good social image regardless for themselves.
That is not to be, that is so not to be in it. That is so not the that is so not to be in.
I agree with what you're saying. I think that's realistically, I think that, a lot, your big goals in life should be long-term goals, because it's the realization that it's not all going to come at once. And I think that's it's like you have to train your mind to tell yourself, I need to enjoy the little small victories along the way to that specific path that I'm trying to get to, right? But I think that even with businesses, I think that even the way, like, for example, the way they promote or the way they advertise, it's going back to like the stuff that we deal with like marketing and on social media. It's a lot of people, they don't want to create a long-term game. They'll dabble in like Facebook advertising. They'll try it for a month. They'll spend $150 and then they'll be like, I'm not getting any results. This is a waste of time. It's not working for me. That's it.
That's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true.
And it's not the way it works. It's you have to be consistently present. You have to be in the mind of the consumer. Or you have to be set out to have long-term gains, throughout your growth as a business or as a person. I think that's what everybody keeps. I think it's also maybe a very like North American thing where it's always about, getting that's American dream right now, or getting that Canadian dream right now. And it's just, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, I'm gonna be a businessman. 3 years from now, I'm going to be driving fancy cars, whatever
I'm going to build an e-commerce store, and in 20 days, I'm going to become a millionaire. Yeah.
You eat shit. You have to deal with crappy regulations from the government, maybe, or something else, in your industry, and then you put up with it, and you slowly work your way at something, and then you reach the one stage, and then you set out another area of improvements that you can achieve with yourself as a person, whether it be like you're saying, like meditating, or whether you're doing bodybuilding, or whether you're doing extreme learning, or if you want to train your mind to be better at reading, right? So it's not like you're gonna set out yourself and be like, oh, okay, well, a month from now I'm gonna be reading 300 words a minute, or whatever your goal might be. It doesn't work like that. It's continuous practice. It's continuous, it's just like, it's like you keep hitting that, it's like if you're a bull and you just keep hitting that wall, right?
Yeah. And
like it's gonna give. You just gotta tell it's almost like you just tell yourself there is no wall. It's just I'm there. I know it's gonna get knocked down, and it's, if you imagine to yourself and you tell yourself that I already am at that result, then you're bound to get there.
You're bound to get there.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
And everybody's journey is a different one. You can't compare yourself to someone else. Nobody fails. Okay. Nobody fails. It's just a different learning experience and a different path.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're in the right spot at the right time, because you've learned what you need to know to get where you are right this moment. You sure haven't reached the pinnacle point. I have not reached the pinnacle point, but I know enough at this stage. Doesn't mean that I know everything. It just means I know enough at this point.
It's almost like They just want you to, you know, have that mindset where you're like, oh, you know, I need to work hard for, you know, 20 years for somebody else, and then you retire and go off and, you know, live somewhere in like a nice cottage for 20 years, and I'm going to be happy.
It doesn't work that
no.
way. And in fact,
And you need to stimulate your mind. That's another thing too. Is you need to have some sort of you know, something to strive for continuously. And if you don't have that, then what's the point of you living? It's just.
I think it's a fallacy to say we ever stop.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fallacy to say at a certain point the hard work disappears. I don't see the hard work ever disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the proving yourself ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good thing. I really do. I see a lot of my friends who are anywhere between 10 and 20 years older than myself, and I look and say, oh, you poor things. Your brains are dead. You're dying, and you're so stuck in your own world, and you're not in tune with the world, and I feel so sorry for you. Yes, it's hard at a certain point to say, yeah, I got to keep proving myself, but so what? We all have to, and I kind of like it. I really do.
Oh, because it becomes challenging, right?
It's very challenging.
It's almost like becomes like a game, right? For
It is a game.
yeah.
It
No,
is a game.
just like life is, I guess, right? So
Yeah.
just like that dance that you were talking about, right? With your husband.
It's all a game.
Yeah.
And don't take it seriously. And
Yeah.
it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about the other people. Really, that's what the whole thing is.
Going back to what you were saying before, like, you know, you have to be genuine in actually wanting to help people instead of
It's
just creating a game for yourself.
Yeah.
Because
It's about the mark and the
doesn't
legacy.
last, right? So
Yeah, it's about the mark and the legacy that you leave behind at the end of the day.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, that's what I enjoy dealing with people who are 45 and under. They're concerned about leaving their mark. They're concerned about leaving the world a better place. And I think, yes, because my generation didn't do that. And I'm more than prepared to give up every little piece of knowledge that I have to say, and here, I'll help you do it faster. I'll give you everything I have, and I'll let you do it. There, guys, that's pretty much everything I've given you to what I thought I could share.
you're amazing. I think
How
that's,
is that?
you know what?
I thought it was-
Honestly, I had no idea as to, you know, how many companies you were able to manage and how many colleagues you were able to work with, and I think that it's truly incredible to have somebody who can come on and to talk to us about the big lessons and not just, you know, the little things that, you know, can guide you along the way on the course for, you know, for something. But I like the fact that you're talking a lot about the mental game and how it's allowing yourself to be strong mentally and being able to, you know, to tell yourself, no, I'm not gonna put up with it. I'm not gonna allow some doctor to decide for me how I'm gonna be, because I'm not just like everybody, just like a cattle. I'm not right.
No.
And I think that's, for a lot of people, it's just easier because they think, well, this person's a professional. They obviously are giving me their professional opinion, and then they just become agreeable with it, right? And then that's their downfall, is them just giving in somebody else's opinion. They don't know. They have no clue.
They have no clue.
Yeah. And I think that's essentially the one thing that's you kind of just have to strive for, is being your own person, but at the same time not necessarily, you know, yeah, sure, I agree with you, but at the same time, know in the back of your mind, you know what, you're incorrect. I'm gonna do it the other way, right? And just not being able to be a pushover, really. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlene. You've been incredible. Do you want to drop any last piece of wisdom as far as you running the businesses? What's the biggest thing you've learned, other than all the mental stuff?
Kindness comes first. Always be kind. Always, you don't have to be a pushover, but show kindness. Trust your intuition and your gut, because your intuition and your gut are never wrong. Hire, honest to God, hire a coach or an advisor and a mentor sooner rather than later. That is the one thing I should have done. I had lots in the corporate life, but I would have gone farther faster had I done that. And always do things for the right reasons, and money is the worst reason. That would be my most common advice. Yeah.
You're incredible. Thank you so much for sitting down with us and having this conversation and coming from so far away. And I think that it's it's one of those things that's it's like I was telling my brother. It's different with every single person. I mean, you can assume that just because they have a certain career or they're a certain experience, and it might come off as something that's not really super exciting. But in reality, it is. Every single person has their
Everyone
own
has a story.
has their own story, has their own little journey, right? And that's what really makes it, I think, really interesting is the experience that they can bring to the table. And that's why we've created this, because I think that a lot of the youngsters, a lot of the people that are just getting into the business, they just think, well, I know everything. And that's sort of the attitude that I think a lot of generations have when they're younger. And where they say, well, I know everything. I don't need somebody else to tell me this, right? But the reality is you can learn with your own mistakes, or you can learn using somebody else's mistakes from the past. And
nobody knows what they don't know. And believe me, that field of what you don't know is huge.
Yeah,
it is.
It is definitely huge.
So we'll post all the information regarding the course and the people that you want to bring on for the trial.
Perfect.
I think that it could be extremely beneficial to them. But also, we would suggest that if anybody is in business and they're looking for somebody to help them, improve their growth or improve their approach or improve, have an external outlook on how their company is performing and what they can do better, they can probably get in touch with you, right? So yeah, and I think that's it's like you said, right? You yourself you came to that realization a while ago that had you had that little help or had that little opportunity to have that mentor to guide you in that direction, I think it would have made such much more of a difference. And I just really want to thank you for coming today. This podcast was brought to you by EFG Inc., social media marketing company. We would like to thank them. But most of all, thank you for taking the time to be on the show today. And I think that this probably was one of the most inspiring, I think, podcasts that we've had so far. And
for sure,
I just wanted to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for bringing that knowledge to light and allowing people to experience what sort of winning mindset that they can set themselves to in order for them to be winning in more than just business, but in life as well.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.